Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the Ford Mustang GT, which is, well, one of my favorite cars when it comes to muscle cars from America, and it's also the cheapest V8 that you can currently buy in Germany. When it comes to the starting price, it's going to be roughly around 60,000 for the GT variant. You cannot get an EcoBoost in Germany. You can, however, in America, which is kind of a little bit of a weird fact. When it comes to the convertible, which we have here around 65,000, and you can also get the Dark Horse for 72,500 euros. So you get a little bit more different styling, a little bit more horsepower, and also a little bit different standard equipment. So let's get right into it and look at everything that this car offers. You can also get the GT styling package, which is going to add a lot of black touches. For instance, the roof is going to be in black, you get the side mirrors in black, and also black rims. That, however, is going to cost you around 1,600 euros. On the Dark Horse, you also get a rear spoiler, which you theoretically could have gotten in the previous generation for around 500 euros. Maybe that's going to come in the future, because in the interior you also see on the display that this does have a rear spoiler. Otherwise, they have changed quite a lot here. You can see the cooler in the front, or the intakes, are basically all the way from one side to the other one with these struts in the middle, looking pretty good. Full LED lights, you do not get matrix LED lights, and you cannot upgrade to any. You get an air intake on the top here, which is actually real, it's not fake, and a little bit of these kind of fake carbon touches, which you'll see all around this car. And now we can look at the engine, which is, well, naturally aspirated V8 engine, which is a 5-liter. Probably the last time we'll see this in Germany, at least. In America, probably you'll be able to see it a little bit longer, but in Germany, it's just fun. In Germany, we don't get an EcoBoost, but we get the V8. And the engine that is a little bit more, well, eco-friendly is not allowed in Germany, but the V8 is. It's still tuned down quite a lot. So in Germany, 446 horsepower and 540 Newton meters. The Dark Horse is going to get 7 horsepower more, so 453 and 540 Newton meters. The American version are going to get around 490 horsepower, which is quite a lot more. When it comes to the fuel consumption, you're going to be looking at around 21 liters in the city, 12.4 liters when you're using it combined, and Autobahn, I think, around 11 liters. I'm not too sure on that currently. When it comes to 0 to 100 speeds, this is going to get the fastest with the automatic gearbox, a 10-speed automatic gearbox, 4.9 seconds, and 5.2 if you get the manual gearbox, or you also get the Dark Horse variant, which has 7 horsepower more, but is slower on the 0 to 100. Top speed 250 horsepower, 250 kilometers an hour, Dark Horse 263 kilometers an hour, but look at how great that engine is implemented in there. Every single inch of the engine bay is basically used for that massive engine. Wow. It always amazes me when I see a 5-liter V8 in a car like this. It's just a piece of history. I love it. The car is going to be 4 meters and 81 long, 2 meters and 8 wide with the side mirrors extended, and 1 meter and 96 without them being extended, 1 meter and 40 of height, so a fairly low car, and 2 meters and 72 of wheelbase. We do still have that 5-liter logo down here. Very, very nice to see that. When it comes to the rims, you only have the option of 19-inch rims, but you can choose between 3 different ones. You also have the California Special Edition, which gets like this blue one, and then you also have the Dark Horse, which also get a different design. We do also have the optional red calipers on there, which are Brembo brakes. Those are not optional, but being in red is optional. I think 500 euros. And those are 6 piston brakes with 3 90s in the front and 3 55s in the rear. Those are pretty massive. And these tires are also fairly decent with 2 55s in the front and 2 75s 40 in the back. Automatically folded side mirrors. The weight of the car is going to be 1.838 tons if you get the normal version, 50 kilograms more if you get the convertible version. With the sidebar down here also being in this kind of fake carbon touch, and also keyless go, so you can theoretically unlock the car with that, or you also have a key fob where you can unlock the car with wherever it is. And that is how it looks like. Nothing special about it, just a normal Ford key fob. And in the back, also a couple of things have changed. For instance, we have full LED lights in the back, which have dynamic lights on the bottom for your blinkers. In America, obviously, the blinker is going to be the full light. Down here in Germany, we have those 3 sections down below because they gotta be in yellow, so a different color than your brake lights. Otherwise, you get the performance logo on the inside of the GT logo, which does look pretty cool. A little bit of an antenna. And, well, not too much storage space. We're gonna look at that in a second. Down here, we also have this nice little diffuser, which does look pretty good down there, with, again, this kind of fake carbon hard plastic touch. And we have our 4-valve active exhaust system, which is standard in Germany. However, it's gonna be an option if you are in America. And that sounds pretty good. We're gonna do sound check here in a second. You do not, well, you're not able to tow anything with this car, so you're, well, gonna have to not worry about that, because you really don't want to tow anything with this car. That's not what it's meant for. 381 liters if you get the normal version, so the GT. as a non-convertible, so the fastback. If you get the convertible, 310 liters, and you can theoretically flip over the back seats if you're only driving with 2 people, and then you can put like 2 luggage in there or suitcases, but that's about it. And now sitting in the back row, you can definitely tell what it is not the most comfortable position in here. I'm 1.80 m tall, 5'11". Got, well, just about headroom. If you're, I mean, 1.85 m, you're gonna be sitting a little bit more like this. So I think my height is the perfect height if you do want to sit in the back. I'd say you can do like half an hour in the back here, especially when the seat is adjusted to me. If it would be a little bit more forward, then I have a little bit more knee room, but the seats are fairly squishy, so you can put your feet in, or your upper leg in there quite good. If you get the Recaro seats, I don't know how the difference is there, maybe a little bit less. But you're also angled like this, so you're not sitting in a straight position, but your legs are basically going to the left. Otherwise, really nothing back here, just 2 seats. So join me in the inside of the Mustang GT. You can see quite a lot has changed. We have this very big center display here. If you turn it on, you can see a couple of animations coming on as well, and fairly well integrated into the dashboard in my opinion. We have the nice rev up there. Very big infotainment display here, which does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You also have a couple of features in here, for instance, the My Mustang, where you can have track apps, auxiliary gauges or gauges, which I really like to see. You can see your G-forces. You can put your color in there, your custom Ford Mustang mode, which is pretty cool. So I can, for instance, I've set it up that I have the exhaust sound to racetrack, auto stop and start off. This down you can change, it'll also show you the way that it's gonna look. The cluster display, I do like the sport one, I think that does look pretty cool. Or you can also have the race track. And what I'm gonna turn off is the Fox body, because that kind of imitates analog displays. Or gauges, which I really like to see. That looks pretty cool. Obviously traction control on, because it's a little bit wet outside and it's just a rear-wheel drive car with 146 horsepower. You really don't need to be driving that in traction control off, unless you want to be one of those guys who drives around the corner and crashes the car, even though they have changed quite a lot in here to not make that happen anymore. When it comes to the quality in the inside, typical Ford Mustang kind of thing, because it's a mass production car, the quality is obviously not going to be the greatest, but I think it is still fairly decent. You have some leather up here, you have this like a chrome touch. I like that they have a chrome in there, but you're going to get so many fingerprints on there, so I'm not the biggest fan of that. There's kind of like carbon touches, which goes around here and also in the center, obviously not real. Mustang logo on there, always like to see that. Air vents on the side, and fairly good quality up here with the Bang & Olufsen sound system. We obviously have the convertible, so you can do this and then you can unlock it and basically open it, which is nice. And you can also have this right there, so you unlock it and then you press it, it's going to go automatically backwards. Inductive loading space down here, USB-C, a 12-volt charging port there, and also just a normal USB, and also this nice little gear selector with the 10-speed automatic gearbox. You could theoretically also choose the 6-speed manual gearbox. I'm not the biggest fan of manual gearboxes, especially because I'm not the best at it. So I like my automatic gearbox. This is actually pretty cool. So it might look like a normal handbrake. It is actually an electrical one, but if you put it into the racetrack mode or the drift mode, whatever it is, you can actually pull this and it's going to lock up the rear wheels, and then you can actually drift it. So basically like a real handbrake, but it is a fake one, so an electric one. So it's a pretty cool gadget, and I do like that. These seats are pretty cool. You could theoretically also get Recaro seats if you do want to upgrade to those. A little bit of storage space in here, which is pretty good, with another 12-volt port in there and a little bit of a light. 2 cup holders, and in general a very nice steering wheel. I really do like this. Maybe a little bit on the bigger side, could have been a little bit smaller, but I like that you have physical buttons. Obviously they're out of plastic, but it feels pretty good plastic. So if you press on here, that does sound pretty good. And if you also quickly want to turn off the 1 kilometer over the speed limit kind of warning, you can press this button, hold it down, not that one, sorry, and then it's going to turn that speed limiter. You have to press it for like 10 seconds. It's going to turn it off. Always like to see when they have a quick bind in there. And let's now start this wonderful 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 up and see what it sounds like. This 4th generation of the Coyote. Let me go up to my custom mode, so we have the most amount of sound, basically. If we go into the custom mode, and let's start it. And then that roaring of the V8, just a low rumble. Sounds pretty good. One thing I have noticed, I am in my custom mode, but it hasn't actually shown the Fox style kind of display there, that from 87 to 93. So no analog displays, which would have been a little bit nicer. I don't know why that is not on. And there's also a quick band down here, so you can go into there. But if you go into custom mode, that's what I'm currently in. You can see here, if I go into M2, it's going to show down there. It doesn't show the different styles of the instrument cluster, so that's a little bit unfortunate, because I would have really liked to see this. That would have been pretty cool. Also, one thing I did forget to mention, you also have a little bit of a glove box in there. There's no button you have to open it, you just have a lever and then you can pull it. But let's now drive it. We can also see, if we go into the reverse, we do have a rear view camera, which has a really good quality, so that is very nice. Also, the lines do move, so it does show you where you're going. No front camera or side cameras. You do have rear sensors as well. Let's also remove the parking brake, so if you press it down, and then let's back up. Surrounding view of this car is, well, it's okay. Obviously out the back is not great due to the fact that you just have that small window in there, which is typical with the Mustang. But obviously if you do pull down the window, you're obviously going to have a nicer view out at the back. Turning circle is also fairly decent. Haven't had any problems turning around in the city so far. But listen to that. With the 10-speed automatic gearbox, obviously a little bit more shifting going on there, so you're going to have a lot more upshifts and downshifts, because you obviously have 10 speeds. Let's go right. I have no idea where I'm driving here, but we're just going to drive. Oh, it is such a good sound. I love it. Blinker sound is also very, well, quiet and very calming, I'd say. There's a Raptor as well, that was pretty cool. When it comes to the consumption, WTB claims around 12 liters if you're driving in the city, 20 liters, so definitely fairly high. Like I already mentioned, let's also quickly turn that off. Hold the button down, speed limiter is going to turn off with around 10 seconds of waiting time. And one thing I definitely would recommend getting in this car, especially if you're trying to, or if you're buying this car and looking to resell it in the future, the Magni ride system is a fairly good system, because that gives you active dampers for the suspension and makes the ride quality a little bit more comfortable, and also stiffens it up a little bit because of those active dampers. But that definitely, when you're driving over, for instance, a little bit of potholes here, that's going to smooth those out quite a bit and just give you a more comfortable ride. And I think in the future, if you do decide to sell the car, then that is obviously going to up the value as well, because that's a thing that I think most people would like to have in their Ford Mustang. As you might be able to tell, you also don't get a heads-up display. Wouldn't also expect one. You do have a fairly big bonnet, because somewhere that V8 is going to be stored. So a fairly good overview in my opinion as well, so you can kind of judge how long the car is in the front as well. So not bad when you're trying to park, so you can, in my opinion, judge it quite well. It's so crazy to think about that in 2024 in Germany, you're able to put a V8 in a Ford Mustang. With all the regulations that we have, a 5-liter V8 naturally aspirated, it doesn't seem like it should still be getting through the regulations. But if you look at the horsepower, it obviously had to have been tuned down a little bit, or quite a lot, compared to the American spec car with 493 horsepower, if I'm not totally mistaken. This one only 446, with the Dark Horse getting 7 horsepower more. So you can definitely tell, okay, maybe in the future this might be the last Ford Mustang with a V8 engine. But Ford did also recently say that they're going to, well, be putting a V8 into a Mustang until it's not allowed anymore. They're going to do everything until the regulations don't allow it anymore, because a Mustang always needs that V8. That's the only thing that really makes this car so special. It just sounds so good. You really don't need a sound system in here. All you need is to listen to that rumble of the V8. We're gonna go onto the Autobahn now and see, well, how nice that sounds. And also the vibrations when you're sitting in the car here at the stoplight, you can just feel your body moving a little bit because that rumble of the V8, pretty cool. What we're gonna look at now also is, well, first of all, let's actually drive a little bit faster here. Let's see if we can launch it a little bit. We're not gonna fully launch it, but let's see. Oh, lots of wheel spin there. And that was not even full throttle, but that was a ton of wheel spin. What you could theoretically also do is use the pedals in the back here, so you can shift it. You can see 5th gear. If we now shift up, for instance, or shift down, sorry, into 3rd gear. Oh, that sounds crazy good. It is so nice that you just have this engine in here. Listen to that. You can also see, while the fuel consumption is not that great, we do have a fairly decent tank in here of 61 liters. A little bit over half full, 218 kilometers until empty. Average consumption currently 12.2, claimed around 12.4. So if I spat this a little bit. And... oh, still wheel spin there at 120. And then because of the convertible model as well, you can hear quite a good amount of wind noise, especially up here where that is that connection to the chassis of the car. That's also pretty interesting about this car. It still has the same chassis as the previous generation, so not a new chassis, it's still on the same one, but I think they have changed quite a lot on the outside. What they have also changed is the directness of the steering input. So it is a little bit more direct now, so a little bit more sporty as well. And suspension at this speed is also fairly decent. Obviously this car is a Gran Turismo. It's not a car that you put on the track and try to get lap times. You can do it because there's also the track lap meter basically in here. But that's not what you want this car to be. It's a car that you just step in, listen to the V8, and that's all you have it for, and drive it around and get those couple of more sporty feelings when you're driving. It's pretty amazing to drive this car right now because it's the first time in a very, very, very long time that I've been able to drive a Mustang. And this is actually almost the same spec, well not the same spec, but fairly similar, because in America when I was still living in Canada for 7 years, I did a road trip with my family from Los Angeles down to Las Vegas, Grand Canyon. And the car we had there, because my dad always had a dream of doing a road trip in America with a Ford Mustang, was a Ford Mustang GT in a convertible spec. And that was pretty cool. Well, for me it was, not for my mom or my brother, because they were sitting in the back and my dad always wanted to drive in the, well, top-down mode, because it was burning hot outside. But she was sitting in the back with a scarf on, with a hat on, because it was so windy in the back. But I was just having the time of my life, driving a Ford Mustang through America. So nice. That is the thing with this car, it just has so much history. The first year it came out, 446,000 units sold within 1 year, crazy amounts. The T model was the most sold car from Ford in 1 year with over 2 million units, I think, that were produced. But this is just such an iconic car. If you do get the chance, I will also try to drive the Dark Horse version of this. Let's also go into the different modes here real quick to see how, if we go into the normal mode, how the engine sounds then with the exhaust being not on the race mode. I'll be honest, I don't hear much of a difference. Still sounds amazing. Probably if you're on the outside, you're gonna hear quite a good amount of difference in there. Oh, but does that sound beautiful? And we do also have the big Brembo brakes in here, so the 390s in the front and 350s in the back, with 6 piston brakes, and those are fairly big and also work fairly decently. Special thing about the 6-speed manual gearbox is also that you have flat pedal shifting basically, so you can always have it on full throttle on the pedal, but you can still shift, which obviously is a little bit nicer, so you don't have to take it off. Then that's obviously going to be a little bit of a change, but a change that gives you a little bit more power as well. So what is my final verdict on the Ford Mustang GT? I think the design does look really good in my opinion. Driving characteristics are, well, typical Ford Mustang. all on the rear wheel drive, so you're gonna have a little bit of a slippery drive, but the V8 engine is just amazing. And as long as it still exists in Germany, I think it is still, well, one of the greatest cars when it comes to an iconic car. A car that will never fade away from its iconic history, and just a really, really nice car in general. I do like the new interior styling with the new big display in there, and also the way that the animations are integrated in there. Good amount of safety features and basic standard equipment. And it is still the cheapest V8 engine that you can get for 60,000 euros. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe. That would really help a lot. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.